In 8 years, I think the whole time we've missed the assignment. This channel has been educational and I'm committed to keeping this video that way, but I want you to stop and think about how you got here. While you're watching this video, probably an Airbnb host wanting to run the best business you can run. And this channel came from me kind of doing the same. Picked up some properties in 2015, said I'm going to teach you all how to do Airbnb. Initially, not only property, but all of the topics, right? How to do housekeeping, how to send messages, how to change your prices. There's so much to it. It's a whole business. And I think you, many of us, have learned the hard way what it means to run a business, right? To have to deal with guests, have to deal with Airbnb, with insurance and paying your bills and being a leader and running housekeeping teams. But as we get deeper and deeper into how to run a good business the right way, right? We get into the numbers and logistics and knowing exactly how much to pay for shampoo and how much shampoo to keep on standby, right? We start to lose the humanity of it all. And so much of my content lately has been the nuts and bolts. But there's no soul in the nuts and bolts. And this business is all about soul. It's all about humanity. Changing your prices is great. Having good interior design is great. But when you forget that you're running a business that relies on making people feel safe and welcome, if you forget that, you go out of business. That's the whole heart of hospitality, short-term rentals, is inviting people into your home. Whether you have 1 or 100 of them, it's still a place that people are going to call home while they're there. And in 8 years, I think we've done very few videos on this concept of what is hospitality exactly, what it is that we're doing, why. And I hope this video is reaching you if you've had a similar upbringing to me. Not as hard, hopefully, not the same. I was raised in an alcoholic childhood and abusive family, went homeless, that story, but I had a uniquely difficult childhood that's led to who you see today, the quirks and everything, right? The business owner with a couple chips on his shoulder wanted everybody to know how good at business I was. It mattered so much to me when I first started this YouTube channel. And maybe why you started your first business or your second, or why you're in business at all could be similar to my reason. You were running from something that just doesn't feel good. And your success felt good. And now you're here, trying to have more success, trying to build more. And you know, that's the one thing that humans have in common. We all want more. And that desire for more, that dopamine hit, the need to be better every year, never take a step back, it loses you your humanity at one point. In business, if you hire people and you promote them beyond their own capability, they were motivated all the way up until that point that they start to fail. And then at that moment where you promote them beyond their capabilities, they start to have this identity crisis. They were always successful in the company. You always patted them on the back. They always did good. And now they're failing. That can hurt someone so much that they don't see it clearly, that they're just in a new position that they weren't built for, that the company gave them something too big because their track record has been golden before then. All they know is that they need to succeed. They cannot fail. Their reputation in the company has been that they never fail. And this failure could be the end for them. A lot of people will not let themselves become the failure in the company. They'll give their entire life to not failing, working 80-hour weeks just to fail anyway. And then they deject. They start to disconnect from the business because it's no longer the magical place that it used to be, because they have shame for failing. I went through this before I went homeless. I was the sales guy that outsold everybody. And then I got into management. And then getting into management, I was a terrible manager. You guys may even be able to tell through a camera lens that my ADHD self is pretty bad at managing people. And I spent 2 years trying to not let that company down, to keep that perfect track record, and I couldn't. 100-hour work weeks, and I still failed. I burnt out. Then my boss demoted me and put his brother in charge of my sales team, and that hurt my pride and hurt my feelings so bad that I quit to start my own company, and I had no plan or preparation, and then I went homeless. And I lived in a Mazda MPV van for 4 months, trying to sell teeth whitening boxes that I bought from China out of the back of my van, setting up at places like Walgreens or outside of grocery stores, trying to show these things off, buying them for $7 overseas and then selling them for 40 or 60 bucks in cash outside because my bank account was $5,000 negative. I couldn't use my debit card and I needed to live. So I collected cash or I stole from a grocery store to eat. That was a very dark time for me, the back end of failure. And I know some of you very well. This is your first or only business, and to fail would be astronomically bad. It would be earth-ending ego check. And just 2 days ago, I had a long talk with a good friend whose family grew up with money. He was fine for a while, but he's fighting his way out of the bottom. I told him bouncing off the bottom is what builds character, not starting there. Some of you started with nothing, and you have this business and you're so afraid to lose it. Some of you have never known what it's like to lose at all. And I'm telling you, losing for the first time in a big way was the most important thing that ever happened to me. If I did not go homeless and bounce off the bottom, I would have never started my first successful business. I never would have started my first few Airbnb properties. I never would have started this YouTube channel. I would have never made all this money that you see me talk about on this channel. Then my students in the program would have never made the money. You guys wouldn't see these videos, and some of you have really benefited from the content. This would have never happened. It all came from the worst 4 months of my life. So yes, I'm trying to evangelize to a degree that hitting the bottom is a good thing. And one of the best things that you can be is not afraid of the bottom. But also, I do know what it's like to go to bed hungry, and I'm never going to do that again. I've committed to myself that that's not going to happen. Not that I'm afraid of it. I'm not, because I know I can survive it. But I also know that I've gotten out of it, and staying out of it means too much to me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Now, that phrase can scare some people. Somebody said on my Instagram, I made a comment like this on Instagram before, and they're like, this is how bad people do bad things in capitalism. And it might be. There might be people who do bad things in business because they will do whatever it takes to stay rich or whatever. But think of your character and your integrity. By doing whatever it takes, does that mean you're going to hold somebody at gunpoint? Absolutely not. Does it mean you're going to work 12-hour days to get out of it? Yes. Does it mean you're going to learn something that overwhelms you? Absolutely. Does it mean you're going to take critiques and be open-minded when they make you truly uncomfortable? That's exactly what it means. Does it mean you're willing to sleep on the floor for a while? Absolutely. That's what it means. That's what it means to do whatever it takes. And I'm trying to tell you in this whole rant that you can do both. Have the killer instinct to survive, that think and grow rich level, burn the boats behind you, we're going nowhere but forward level commitment, and the humanity of hospitality. I know that when I got super stressed, you can actually see some of these videos. I was in Philadelphia at the time after COVID. I did a video about how a landlord gave me $600,000 in free rent. But in the middle of that video, I was also going through a pretty heinous lawsuit, one that I beat, thankfully, but I was stressed out. Somebody in the comments of that video said, this whole video gives me anxiety. I was trying to make an educational video for you guys because this channel means the world to me. It's one of the things that has kept me going for the last 8 years. I love these videos that I do for you guys, and every Saturday I coach my students, and I love that 4-hour session where people ask me questions. It's one of my very favorite things. And so I'm trying to make a video to teach you guys because my identity was wrapped around teaching arbitrage. And I was stressed, and it came out in a video, and you could just see it. Not only just see it, but you can feel it. And this is where I'd like you to do a check if you're stressed. If it's been rough, if COVID, if the Airbnb bust, if your relationships, your other business, the job you got, your circumstances, if they stress you out. Some of you are super survivor types, and that's why maybe you and I resonate. That's why you watch these videos, because you know, like me, you're going to survive, and Sean brings results or whatever, right? Sean is the guy who never says die. That's cool. That's why you're here. But if you're like me for that reason, you need to find a way to stay soft, is what I'm trying to encourage you to do. You can both be strong and have the gloves for hospitality. It's something that I lost along the way. And when I trained Haley to run the whole company, Haley lost it. If you guys remember, we hired somebody that handled all of our resolutions, and we named that person guest experience manager, and we made them a customer advocate in the company because people like me and Haley, who are the never say die people, were always like, no. Guests wanted a refund for something? No. Guests wanted to cancel their stay? No. Operations is all we knew. We gotten so hardened by how hard it was to be an Airbnb host that no one had love for the guests. So after 120 properties, I think we're at 120 properties plus when we hired this girl, Melissa, she started saying every guest gets a refund, and she would argue with me and Haley to make sure that the company stayed soft. That's what I did to make sure that we maintained the hospitality in the company, because Haley and I lost it for a long time. And it is easier now that we've got guest advocation protocols, I guess you could call it like that. And after I took a couple of years off and gotten less hard-nosed about being a business owner, it is easier to see things from the guest point of view. For a long time, I thought guests wanting refunds was them attacking the company, trying to tear down everything that I built. And if you've got that same fear about guests, that they're going to party, do damages, all sorts of crazy stuff like that, this is where there's a huge advantage in this industry. I can say I know a lot of hosts that feel the same way. And in one of my coaching calls, someone said, how do you handle knowing that a guest is going to destroy your property? And this person owns a property, right? And this is very common with my students that own a property and only own one. It's your baby, right? And I'm going to paraphrase what I said to him. We make all of our money by letting people be the darkest, laziest, most disrespectful, most dishonest versions of themselves. In hospitality, we are catering to people who want to escape from their lives and live somewhere else and be someone else for a little while. And that includes being less of a good person. We make money by letting them destroy our furniture. We make money by letting them throw their parties to a degree, right? We make money by letting them smoke when they're not supposed to, by being rebels and doing whatever they want. And you charge them for it. Ritz-Carlton does not say no to a single person. And you're not as rich as the Ritz-Carlton is, so you're going to have a second line to that. First line is, no is never the answer. Second line is, the question is how much? If somebody destroys your couch, you need to deliver a new couch same day, or you lose the next guest, right? Well, thank God for Airbnb's AirCover. You can actually cancel the next guest and get full payment. Just charge it to AirCover. If you go replace the couch wicked fast and somebody delivers it same day, you will have a cost for that. You charge it to the guest. You charge it to AirCover. Let guests be stupid. Let guests cause damage and make it worth your time. Lose the relationship that you have to the property and start seeing that property sacrifice as the way for you to make money. You need to put that asset to work. And I also told him about a surgeon friend that I had. He says that he went to school with a lot of really talented medical students who became surgeons as well. But he knows some that stopped practicing after someone died on their operating table. Really interesting case, right? Really smart, dedicated, care a lot about doing good medicine. But the moment somebody died, they just couldn't shake it off. They had so much guilt, so much shame for the fact that they couldn't save somebody. My friend said that an older surgeon said something once to him and it stuck with him forever. And it's how he looks at surgery now. 1,000 years ago, all of these people would have been dead. And modern medicine is how they could become undead. We can keep them alive or bring them back, per se, through modern medicine. He is a practitioner of something that is saving somebody when they should not be alive. So when he operates on a patient, they're already dead. If somebody dies on the table, they were already that way, because without him in modern medicine, that would be the truth. He is trying to change someone's fate beyond their natural means, and every person who survives is a gift. I know that's a little heavy, but that's how he survives being a surgeon in trauma and whatever else he does. It works for him. And we have something similar on our hands. If you own a property and you only own one or two and you love the property, you put so much time and energy and effort and money into the design, it's beautiful. And somebody damages it and you're like, it's never going to be the same. It wounds you so bad. It's not worth any money in the world, is it? It's not worth it. Somebody could have paid you $50,000 to rent your place and then they mucked up your art, right? Some things are priceless. I'll tell you, if you keep that relationship with a property, you just can't mentally survive that. So the best way to be an Airbnb host, and I'm not trying to tell you guys how you all need to be hosts, but the best way that I've found to be able to do this business and make a lot of money and not have any issues with any guest misbehavior is make misbehavior your business. It's where all the money is. And that, my friends, does come full circle to the whole thing I'm trying to talk about. A lot of us are here as business owners because we're running away from a pain. I grew up poor. I was bullied. My mentor committed suicide. I've had some stuff that I'd probably choke up if I talked about at length here. And I'm so afraid of people taking everything from me, everything that I ever built that means that I matter, this YouTube channel, my properties, whatever. And I don't want anybody taking away my sense of self-worth that I built. These businesses that I spent forever, my whole identity, the last 15 years of my life, I don't want that to go away because some person threw a party at a property, right? That's the kind of the relationship of the fear here. But it's a cliche phrase. Scared money doesn't make money. In Airbnb, scared property doesn't make money. If you can do hospitality well, you will be full chest exposed to the worst of people. And yeah, they put your properties and your business at risk. So you build some systems, some preparation for that. Welcome them with open arms and just charge them on checkout. Swipe the card or charge it to AirCover. And the hardest thing to do is to look at the next guest with a clean slate and don't accuse them of being anything like the guests before. That is really the hardest thing because we're pattern recognizing animals. The best thing that we can have is a Dora-sized memory bank. Every guest is perfect. Every guest is wonderful. We have gratitude for every single guest. It doesn't matter if they've got the same name, same face as the last guest. It should not matter. I have seen too many reservations go wrong in my free Facebook group because people came with a level of suspicion and coldness to guests because they just had a bad year. And this was truly pronounced after COVID. There were so many parties after COVID because all the bars shut down, and that led to hosts having party after party, weekend after weekend, and a lot of us were just fed up. I hired security guards to stand in front of some of my townhomes in Philadelphia to prevent parties, and they had guns pulled on them trying to prevent those parties. That's how bad COVID was. It was rough. And then after that, the hardest thing was to calm back down when it was all over, to not carry that trauma into the next reservation. And there's something that I always have believed, even before I got into Airbnb, because I've only been doing this 8 years. My first business was newspapers, and newspapers had a lot of problems. And a couple of the main problems that we had is we were not the only company serving newspapers. So I built sales teams that would sell subscriptions, and there'd be another company next door working a different territory, but we would all work grocery stores and do events and stuff. And they'd also change rates, which is how much we're allowed to sell the paper for, and they would change commissions all the time. And my sales guys would get so upset when the newspaper went up in price, or commissions went down, or our competitors and us had a territory redraw, something like that. Anytime that would happen, when a newspaper would raise their prices, the next meeting sales guys were throwing pens and upset and going, I'm going to quit. And I said, guys, this is good for us. This is what we've been waiting for. You are all highly trained professionals that are good at what you do. And everybody in this city, all 4 of our competitors, have all got to deal with the same rate change. I want you to look around. You know how a lot of you just lost your minds right now? I want you to think about every other meeting going on where everyone else is losing their minds and people are quitting and they're screaming and they're crying just the same. I want you to take advantage of that opportunity. If we can get all of our heads on straight right now and decide that we are going to be the one that takes this change and handle it the best way possible, all of our competitors will go out of business and we will outperform. It's this change that will win us all of the territory we ever wanted, because everyone else will fail to rise to the challenge today. But we are. We're going to rise to that challenge. How this relates to you. Anytime there's something hard in any industry, it's hard for everybody. It's hard for hosts. It's hard for guests. When everybody had parties, it was hard for all hosts. When Airbnb changes their camera policy, it's hard for all hosts. When Airbnb changes their refund policies or their guest screening or anything, it's hard for hosts. And when anything is hard for everybody, that is when you rise to the challenge like you always have, and you do better than everyone else, and then they quit and you stay in business. But I have to give you this caveat one last time. That survival instinct that you have is going to keep you in business if nothing else ever mattered, but the guest matters more. So please, maintain that softness of hospitality, maintain that velvet glove, stay strong, stay a killer, but stay in love with your guests, and you are going to go so far in this industry. I made it so far being a survivor, but if there's one thing I regret, one thing that I would change in any of my businesses, primarily this one, is to know that you made it, you're safe. No one's coming for your lunch like that. And your guests, they can feel your energy. So focus on that positive energy. Keep fighting, but don't let people see your fight. And I'll see you on the other side.